Hello and welcome to DOB Now Build for antenna and curb cut filings. Today, by the end of today's session, we'd like you to be able to describe DOB Now, know where to go for help, register for e-filing, be able to log in and navigate within DOB Now Build, create a new job filing, and then schedule appointments, resolve objections, and resubmit a filing. File the PW2 for the work permit and print a work permit, submit post-approval amendments, request after-hours variances, request a letter of completion, and make a subsequent filing. The structure of today's session will be presentation, and we'll have a number of scenarios performed in DOB Now, and throughout we'll pause for some knowledge checks just to make sure you're following along. So let's talk about DOB Now. DOB Now is the Department of Buildings web-based online portal that gives owners, design professionals, and licensees the ability to conduct their business with the DOB online. DOB Now consists of 4 components. DOB Now Build, which we'll talk about today, is where we file applications for projects and request permits. DOB Now Inspections is where you can request and schedule inspections. DOB Now Licensing, coming in 2018, will be where you can manage your licenses online. And DOB Now Safety is used for annual compliance filings. DOB Now was created for you, our customers, to enhance your experience with the Department of Buildings. DOB Now will make doing business with the Department of Buildings more convenient by allowing you to create, pay for, and submit filings from the convenience of your computer, resulting in fewer trips to a DOB location or a borough office. You'll have access to more information and will be able to see exactly where your filings are in the approval process. You'll know if the DOB is reviewing your filing or if the DOB is waiting for you to take action. Building owners and applicants will have access to real-time information, increasing transparency. And with the move from paper forms to digital, processing times will improve. But we know that change is difficult. It's not easy, and we've become comfortable with the way we've done things for a long time. And this new transition to an online environment is new to many of us. And so we want to let you know that we at the Department of Buildings are here to help you through this transition. And your main source of support and information will be the Department of Buildings website. The DOB Now Resource Center can be accessed directly by going to www.nyc.gov/DOB Now Info. And there you'll find answers to frequently asked questions, detailed step-by-step process manuals. This presentation is posted there, and you'll find a number of tip sheets and videos as well. Also from the Department of Buildings website, you can subscribe to Buildings News. This is the monthly electronic newsletter from the Department of Buildings, keeping you up to date on all the latest developments. And with your subscription, you will also receive DOB Now Digest. This is also an electronic newsletter that comes out about once a month, which provides all the latest information on what's happening with DOB Now and announces training sessions such as this one. If you need more individualized support, the DOB customer service team is here to help you, and you can access them in 2 ways: directly from the URL www.nyc.gov/DOB Now Help, or from the DOB Now login page, just under where you would enter your username and password is a link that says "Need more help? Contact us." If you click on that, you will also be directed to DOB customer service. So let's talk a little bit about key dates and changes coming with DOB Now Build. So after August 28th, the use of DOB Now Build is now mandatory for antenna and curb cut filings. So if you have a job with other work types associated, that would continue to be submitted through the borough offices or e-filing, but you'll want to pull out the antenna and curb cut portion of those filings and create those filings in DOB Now Build. Keep in mind, however, that any antenna or curb cut job that currently has a biz job number will continue to be processed in the manner that you've been used to using, which is either through the borough office or through e-filing. And then after August 28th, any paper filings that have either the curb cut box checked or the OT/ANT for antenna checked will be rejected by the Department of Buildings. And the options for curb cut and antenna will be removed from e-filing. There are a number of processes and forms that are not yet in DOB Now, and these will be you will be able to submit these for your DOB Now jobs through the DOB Now Help form, which is located at www.nyc.gov/DOB Now Help. And those include the AI-1 for minor adjustments to the plans, the PER-11, which is your manual appointment request or escalation, your CCD-1 and your ZRD-1, and the L2. All of those, you would continue to complete those forms and you would submit them through the DOB Now Help form. For DOB Now jobs, if you need a withdrawal or superseding request or a document waiver or deferral request, those also will be requested through the Department of Buildings or the help form, www.nyc.gov/DOB Now Help. Something else that's changing with the move to DOB Now are the numbers that we're using for our filings. So you'll be able to tell a DOB Now job by its new job number format. So the job number is now a 9-character number, or 9-character code, starting with a letter, a borough code. So M for Manhattan, B for Brooklyn, X for the Bronx, Q for Queens, and S for Staten Island, and then 8 digits. And that job number will be appended with a filing number. So you can have an initial filing, a subsequent filing, or a post-approval amendment. And so the filing will have the 9-character job number, a dash, and then the filing number. So for the initial filing, it will be I-1. And for example, if it was the second post-approval amendment, it would be dash P2. Then when we get to the permit stage, the permit number will include the job number, the filing number, and then the code for the work type. So for antenna, the code is AN, and for curb cut, the code is CC. And then our after-hours variance permit numbers are 8 characters, again, starting with that borough code followed by 7 digits. So let's talk briefly about the different filing types. I mentioned these just a moment ago. So the initial filing is obviously the original application. This is the filing that generates the job number. So for example, if we had a curb cut filing, there's a sample of a job number here, and it's followed by the hyphen I-1 for initial filing. And there will always only be one initial filing. Then subsequent filings or post-approval amendments are associated with that original job number, but they will have a different filing number. So for the post-approval amendment, an example of that would be when the scope of work increases or there's a significant change to the plan, you would file that post-approval amendment, and then your job number would be appended with a P1 for a post-approval amendment 1. And an example of a subsequent filing, which maybe is not very applicable for antennas or curb cuts, our example is you have a standpipe or you have a plumbing job filing and you're adding standpipe to it. So our plumbing job filing is M002896110-I1 for the initial filing, and we file a subsequent to add standpipe and then we would have that same job number and then the S1 filing number. All right, so let's see if you're following along. So when is the first day antenna and curb cut filings must be submitted in DOB Now Build? If you answered Monday, August 28th, you would be correct. And true or false, using DOB Now for antenna and curb cut filings after August 28th is optional. If you answered false, you are correct. Using DOB Now Build for antenna and curb cut filings will be mandatory. True or false, as long as an antenna or curb cut filing is associated with other work, it's okay to check the box on the paper, PW1, after August 28th. If you answered false, you are correct. So again, any paper filings submitted to the borough offices with the antenna or curb cut boxes checked in Section 5 will be rejected. And you will need to file those filings in DOB Now Build. All right, so let's talk about e-filing. So to be able to use DOB Now Build, all stakeholders need to be registered in e-filing. So you register for e-filing through the Department of Buildings website. There is a link right on the homepage, or you can get there directly at www.nyc.gov/DOB e-filing. You'll be taken to the e-filing page, and just below where you might log in to maintain your e-filing account is a link to register for electronic filing. So you would click that link. Now, the good news is if you are already registered for e-filing, you do not need to re-register for DOB Now. Your e-filing registration will work in DOB Now Build. So the following groups related to antenna and curb cut filings need to be registered in e-filing before you can submit your job filing. So the property owners, filing representatives, if there are some, the design professionals, so our registered architects, registered landscape architects, and our professional engineers, general contractors, and for antenna filings, special inspectors, progress inspectors, and members of the site safety team all need to be registered in e-filing. When you click that link from the DOB e-filing page, you'll be taken to a form where you determine the email address you'll use for your login and create your password and enter your contact details. And then if you have a license, you'll be asked for additional information about your business and your license information. So let's take a look at what this looks like in terms of a process. So for owners, it's really straightforward. They would complete that registration form that I just showed you. They would submit that, and then they would get a verification email, and they'll need to click a link in that email just to verify that the email is valid, and that activates their e-filing account. For the rest of our stakeholders, licensed professionals, contractors, filing representatives, and some of those other roles that I mentioned, they would also go to the site, complete their registration form, and submit it. They would get an email returned. They would click that verification email link, and that would take them to a summary of all of the information they entered online, called an authentication form. They would need to print that authentication form, sign, date, and seal if you have a seal, or notarize if you don't, and then submit that to the Department of Buildings along, and bring your credentials to LAA on the 5th floor at 280 Broadway. Now keep in mind, if you're a professional engineer, a registered architect, or a registered landscape architect, you need to bring your DOB ID card when you're delivering the form in person, and an individual cannot do this on your behalf. So once the DOB reviews your credentials, they will activate your e-filing account. Also, to prepare to use DOB Now Build, the DOB recommends using Internet Explorer 9. That is mostly because Internet Explorer 9 is the browser that works with DOB Now inspections. If you're not using DOB Now inspections, you can use Internet Explorer 9 or higher, or Chrome. And the other thing you'll want to do is either disable your pop-up blockers or set DOB Now as a trusted site. The system opens a number of new windows, and so if you're clicking on something and nothing's appearing, it could be being blocked by a pop-up blocker. So the instructions are here to turn off your pop-up blockers in Internet Explorer 9, and we also, in this presentation on the website, have instructions, more detailed instructions for setting up DOB Now as a trusted site. All right, let's pause for another question. So who should register an e-filing to use DOB Now Build? And there's a number of groups that are required. So on the left is kind of consistent across build filing, so property owners, filing reps, design professionals, and contractors. And then specific to antennas are our inspectors and site safety team. All right, so roles and responsibilities in DOB Now. Who can do what? This is a little bit of an eye chart. The main points I would like to call out here are that it's really only the design professional who can upload the plans and actually click the file button to submit a filing. Anyone else can upload other documents, they can pay. Certain roles have a role in signing attestations, but the main point here is that the design professional is the one who can upload the plans and submit the filing. For antenna, our special inspectors and progress inspectors, their role is limited to the technical documents, and so they have the permission to be able to enter information and certify on those technical documents. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. And also, same with our site safety team, they have a role related to the work permit in certain situations, and we'll talk about that. All right, so who can click the file button on a filing? If you answered the design professional, then you are correct. That is the only role that is allowed to click that file button. Okay, so let's sign on to DOB Now Build. You can access DOB Now from the URL listed here, www.nyc.gov/DOB Now. When you get there, you will be taken to a login page. Over on the right-hand side is where you'll enter your e-filing registered email and password. Just quickly, if you're having trouble accessing your account or you forgot your password, just below that login screen there, you can click Can't Access Your Account, and that will take you to the e-filing help. And then just below that is, I showed you this already, need more help, contact us. That will take you to our customer service team. If you forgot your password or entered the wrong information, you may get a message like this, and again, this will direct you to the e-filing site. But we have successfully entered our email address and password, and now we're on the DOB Now homepage. And there's two options here, DOB Now Build and DOB Now Safety. We'll select DOB Now Build. And this will take us to our own personal dashboard. And let's talk a little bit about what appears on the dashboard. At the top are a series of blue buttons, I should say. And these are where you can create new. So plus job filing, plus work permit, plus AHV permit, plus request LLC. This is where you would initiate, for example, a new job filing. Below that are a series of tabs, my jobs, my work permits, my AHV work permits, my LLC requests, and then a job number search. You would click on the tab that you would like to look at. So you can see that the My Jobs is colored white. That means it's the active tab. If I clicked on My AHV Permits, it would switch me to the AHV Permits tab. And then just below, and this is a look at the My Jobs tab, let's talk about a few of the features here. So number one is Filter My Jobs. So this is, when you click on this, it'll show a list of the work types, and you can select a work type, and it will filter all your jobs based on that. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Section 2, just below the column heading, is a search box. So if, for example, you want to see all your filings that are in the approved status, in that filing status column, if you typed approve, it would filter the list for you. And this is kind of an on-the-fly search. The column sorter, demonstrated by that number 3, is available on each column, and you would just click on that to sort in ascending or descending order. And then the column editor over to the right allows you to swap in and out the columns that you want to see in your view. So in this example, I swapped out borough and brought in owner. And then over time, we'll have more and more filings. You'll have more and more filings, and so your list may grow longer than a single page. And when that does happen, you'll see this navigation that's shown on the left here on the bottom and blown up on the right here. And this is how you would navigate from page to page. And you can also set how many items per page you'd like to see. So you can see this defaults to 10. If I wanted to see 25, I would just change that setting. All right, so let's take a closer look at Filter My Jobs. So when I click on that and say I want to see all of my antenna filings, I would just click antenna, and it would filter the list down. And at the very bottom of the screen is where you would clear the filter and reset the view. All right, the last tab, the first 4 all will contain lists of filings. The last tab is where you can conduct a search. So maybe you're not associated with the filing, you're a general contractor, and you're just coming in to create the permit at the right stage. And so you need to look up that filing. So you would click on that job number search tab, enter the 9-digit job number, and then click search. And it would bring back a list of filings. And you remember we have our job number will be consistent, and there might be multiple filings. So there could be an I1, an S1, and P1. So when you do this, it would bring back that list of all of them. But this particular job only has an initial filing. And then we double click on the job filing ID to open the filing itself. Another couple of buttons that are of interest. The Save button is in the upper left. You'll want to take advantage of that to save your work frequently. And then there's also a blue button to the right that is your Back to Dashboard. So whenever you're within a filing and you need to get back to your dashboard, you can click that button. At the top of a filing record is the job filing status. And so as the filing progresses through the different stages, these blue buttons, I guess, or circles will fill in to tell you exactly where your filing is in the process. So kind of common statuses are the pre-filing, which is where you're in there creating the filing for the first time. The applicant of record review is the step that the applicant of record needs to do before they can submit the filing. And then depending on your review type, it may go to plan examiner review or professional certification QA review. And then there's a plan approved, permit review, permit entire, and letter of completion. There are a couple of other statuses depending on nuances of the filings, and we'll see some of those as we go forward. And because we're online now, we're able to notify you as your filing progresses through each of the stages. So the owner, the design professional, and the filing rep will receive email notifications as the filing progresses through each of the stages of approval, and general contractors will receive permit-related notifications. And these emails will come from one of those do not reply email boxes. We've heard a little bit that some of these emails might be getting caught in spam filters. So when you submit your very first filing in, if you don't get a confirmation, go ahead and check your spam folder or your junk folder, and make sure you set this DOB Now Do Not Reply email as a safe sender. All right, so we talked about our status bar and some of the navigation. Below that will be a bar of what we're calling chevrons or arrows, and these are the different sections of the filing. And so the active section will be dark blue, so we're on our plans work or our PW1, and to switch to see if I want to see the documents tab, I would just click on that and it would turn dark blue and show you the information related to documents. So this is just a sample process bar for curb cut, very simple and straightforward. Plans work, documents, work permits, statements, and signatures. A curb cut filing may have, an antenna filing may have some additional chevrons. So we've got sort of the common ones we talked about already, but we add in the scope of work, the cost affidavit, there's a couple of technical reports that could be required, an EN2, and then the rest of the documents, work permit, statements, and signatures are the same as we saw with curb cuts. All right, let's pause again. So what is the URL for DOB Now? It is www.nyc.gov/DOB Now. True or false? The only way for the applicant or owner to know the status of a job filing is to log in to DOB Now. If you said false, you were correct. That is a way to see the status of your filing, is to log in and look at that progress bar or look at the status column on the dashboard. But as I mentioned, email notifications will also be distributed, so that's another way that you'll be updated on the status of your filing. All right, so let's navigate a job filing. We're not going to teach you how to fill out these forms. I think most of you are familiar with how to do that, but we'll just point out some of the interesting information about, as we take this online. So once we're in a particular section of a job filing, the information on the left 2/3 of the form will dynamically adjust based on what chevron you've clicked on. And then over on the right is an area called Application Highlights that has a summary of the job, and it calculates the fees, and this is also where you would kick off the payment process. So we're not online here, but if we were, I kind of would click through each of these chevrons just to give you a glimpse of what each of these pages look like. So I'll just do that quickly. The PW1 looks very similar to the paper filing. This is a DS1, which is sometimes required for an antenna filing, an antenna scope of work, a cost affidavit for a antenna filing. This is the TR1, also for antennas, the TR8, the Documents tab, which would be common across work types, work permits, where you could initiate a work permit or see existing work permit. And then this is the EN2, which is for antennas, and statements and signatures. And we'll show you this in a little more detail as we go through the session. All right, so now we're going to create a new job filing. So job filings can be initiated by the design professional, the filing rep, or the owner. And we would start on our dashboard and we would click plus job filing. At that point, the system will ask you what work type is associated. So if it was an antenna filing, we would select antenna and click submit. If it was curb cut, we would select curb cut and hit submit. Keep in mind that antenna filings must be filed alone, so no other work types can be combined, and the same is true for curb cuts. So curb cut is a standalone filing, and other work types are not permitted. All right, as we navigate through the system wants to help you complete the form, and so what you'll be looking for are red asterisks. So fields with red asterisks are required. And then you'll see a series of gray shaded fields, and that means that's an indicator that the field is read-only. And it's read-only because either it's pulling information from another system or it's at the stage where the field is no longer editable. And I think I mentioned this a little bit already, but the system is built dynamically. So unlike the paper form where you have to kind of figure out which sections apply to your particular work type, the system knows what is required for antennas and all the different nuances associated with antennas, and will make those fields or sections appear on demand. Likewise, it knows which documents are required for your particular filing and will make those required. So the chevrons and the red asterisks will really guide you through completing the filing. So one of those things that I think is important to know is what are the minimum fields you have to enter to kind of save the filing and generate your job number. And for these filings, you need to complete Section 1, which is location information, Section 2, applicant information, and Section 11. Now you can complete more than that, but at a minimum, those three need to be completed before you can hit save and generate the job number. So Section 1, we're looking for the house number, the street name, the borough, block, and lot. Once you enter that information, it pulls the rest of the location information over from the BIS system. Section 2, you'll enter your applicant email, so the registered e-filing email. And an important thing to note in this section, or any section where you're entering an email, is that we're finding that if you copy and paste the email in, it's not triggering the system to make the call to e-filing to bring over all your details. So you'll either want to, I guess we recommend typing in the email. So I would type in HO test, which is my name as the applicant. And once I did that, it will pull in my license number and my contact information. Then you'll select the license type that you're using for this particular filing, and you'll select from a pick list the name of your business. And then the last field that you need to enter before you can click Save for the first time is a job description, which is a free-form text field with a maximum of 500 characters. So then we would enter, after we enter those, we would click Save. And the system will warn us that once we hit Save, we're not able to change the address. So we're confirming our address. We'll click Yes. We'll get a notification that the job filing was saved successfully, and then our job and filing number will generate. If you're a filing representative, you probably would have already entered your email here before you hit Save, but the filing representative is in Section 3. And then the owner information isn't on the PW1. It is over in the Statements and Signatures section. So if you're the owner yourself, or you want this to immediately appear on the owner's dashboard, you'll want to go to the Statements and Signatures tab and enter the owner's registered e-filing email address, and that will associate the owner to the filing. All right, let's continue on looking at PW1. So section 4 is where we select our review type, standard or professional certification. And just note that that you need to select that right at the beginning, and whichever review type you select will continue throughout the whole process. Section 5 is Directive 14 acceptance, and note this is a change that is coming with DOB Now, that Directive 14 is required. Directive 14 acceptance is required for all antenna filings, and so this will be auto-selected for you. Section 6, we've already selected our work type generally when we first created the filing. But then in section 6, there's more details about the filing type. And again, if you're in an antenna filing, it will only show you antenna. If you're in a curb cut, it will only show you curb cut filing included information. Section 8 is additional information. A couple of things I want to point out about this section. This is where you can associate your DOB Now job to a biz job. So if your curb cut was part of a bigger construction project and you have a biz job going, this is where you could select yes and enter the biz job number. This kind of makes that link between the two systems. This is also in section 8 where you can estimate the fees. So there's a blue estimate fees button. You can click on that and a little fee estimator will come up. So you would continue on and complete the rest of the filing. You're following your red asterisk. You're going from tab to tab. These are just some of the additional information that needs to be completed. Let's pause here to talk a little bit about technical documents. For this release, this mostly applies to antenna filings. So certain technical documents are required, and special inspections are required in certain instances associated with antenna filings. So there's a couple of ways as this progress inspector or special inspector to get associated with the filing. So the first option is that the applicant of record assigns the inspector. So from within these technical documents, at the very top it asks, are you applicant of record, special inspector, progress inspector? We would say we're the applicant of record. And then we could go in and add these inspection categories by clicking that plus add button in either section. And then within that category, we would select the category, and this is where you would indicate the inspector's information. So you'd enter e-filing, email address, license type, and agency number, and click save. And when you did that, then this filing would appear on the inspector's dashboard. The other option is the special inspector or progress inspector logs in and does a job filing or job number search, which we showed you could do from that final far right tab on the dashboard. And once they found the filing, they would navigate to the technical tabs and select one of those options. Are you special or progress? And then they would either add those categories, or if the categories were already there, they would click edit to open that. And then this is where they would take responsibility for these inspections and enter their information. And then from thenceforward, this filing would appear on their dashboard. All right, so let's pause. What are the minimum sections you need to complete to generate a job number? If you answer section 1, 2, and 11, you would be correct. So those are the 3 areas that need to be completed before you can save for the first time and generate your job number. True or false? Antenna and curb cut filings can be filed in conjunction with other work types in DOB Now builds. If you said false, you would be correct. We mentioned that antenna filings and curb cut filings need to be standalone filings in DOB Now builds. All right, so we're continuing on. We've kind of filled out all of the data entry parts of the filing. Now we're going to upload our required document. So to get to the documents, you go to the Documents tab in our navigation bar at the top, and then you'll see one section that's expanded by default called Required Documents. And so the system, as I mentioned earlier, has business rules, and it knows what type of filing this is, and it looks at all the different nuances of the filing and determines which documents are required. And so it'll pull those in. This sample here is just a very straightforward one where it's only looking for the seal and signature for the design professional and the plans. To upload documents, you click the Upload button in the far right, indicated by the number 2. You can also add additional supporting documents. So you'll notice just above the Required Documents section that we looked at, there is a bar that says Additional Supporting Documents. If you just click on that, it will expand that section, and that's where you can add new documents. And I'm going to show you just a video of this in just a moment, but this is what it looks like. When you click on that and you say Add New Document, a list of available documents will come up. You'll select the one that you want, and then you'll browse for your document. So let's take a look at how this works in DOB Now. All right, so here we are on our dashboard. We're going to select our filing, and we're going to click OK, and we'll go to the Documents tab. We'll click that Upload icon, and we'll select Choose File, which will take us to our computer, and we'll select the file, and then click Open, and then click Upload, and then click OK. Document uploaded successfully, and then we would repeat those steps. Now, if we want to add additional supporting documents, we would expand that section, click Add New Document, we choose the document, the title will autofill over there in the left. Then we'll do the same steps. Choose File, go to our computer, we'll select the file, we'll click Open, and then we'll click Upload. And then select OK. And now the document appears. And then, of course, we're going to want to save our filing. So a couple things I want to point out about document status. So we showed you when the document is required, its status will be required, and it will tell you at what point, by what point the document has to be uploaded. Once you upload a document for the first time, the status will be pending. So that means you've uploaded it successfully, but it has not been submitted. Once you submit your filing to the Department of Buildings, the status of the documents will change to submitted, and then the DOB will review the documents, and once they do that, they'll either be marked accepted or rejected. And if they're rejected, they need to be corrected and resubmitted. Document formats that are accepted by the system are PDFs and JPEGs. Don't use any special characters in the naming of the files, and the files can be no larger than 250 megabytes. All right, let's pause for a question. When I first upload a document, what is the document status? The answer is pending. So it will not change to submitted until the filing has been submitted to the Department of Buildings. So just don't be concerned when you see that document pending. It means that the document's been uploaded successfully, and then once it gets submitted, it will change to submitted. All right, the next step is to pay our filing fees. Fees must be paid before a filing can be submitted. And really, anyone associated with a filing can pay the fees. And we're moving to online payment, so you can pay by e-check, credit card, or debit card. If you choose credit or debit card, payments are subject to a 2.49% service charge. So to avoid that, you'll want to pay by e-check. And then one other note is when you pay by e-check, there's kind of a 5-day waiting period so that the funds clear, so that that will impact when the filing has been accepted by the Department of Buildings. So let's look at a demo of paying filing fees. So we're starting from our dashboard again. We're checking a filing over in the right under payment status. You can see that it's has a red due, the word due in red. That's an indicator that filing fees are due. And then we'll confirm the job that we're paying for and select OK. And then over the application highlights, we'll click the Pay Now button. And it will warn us that once we do that, we're not able to change the building type or the filing includes. So we'll select yes. And then we're taken to the CityPay payment site. And this is where we'll read the terms and conditions. We'll click I agree. And then click continue. And then we're paying by credit card. So clicking that tab, we'll enter our credit card details and billing address, and then we'll click continue. And then there's a summary that we review, one final checkbox, and that activates the process payment button. We'll click that, and then we'll get a printable receipt. And when we go back into DOB Now, it'll say our payment was processed successfully, and our amount due will be 0. Email confirmation will go to the owner and applicant when the payment has been submitted. And this is a point, I think I talked about this earlier about pop-up blockers that some users are experiencing when they click that Pay Now button. The little spinning wheel comes up and it just continues to spin. And you'll want to check up in your browser bar and see if there's any indicator that a pop-up is being blocked. And you'll want to turn off that pop-up blocker so that you can continue with the payment process, or dismiss that pop-up blocker, I guess I'll say. All right, question. Who can pay for fees associated with a filing? Basically, any of the stakeholders associated with the filing can. All right, so the final step before you can submit a filing to the Department of Buildings is statements and signatures. So one of the, I think, cool things about DOB Now is that rather than each form having its own statements and signatures section, the system aggregates all of that into the Statements and Signatures tab. So it brings over all that legal language into one place so you can review and electronically sign at one time. When licensees are doing their statements and signatures, it's required that not only do they read the legal language and apply their digital signature, but you also need to upload the DPL-1 form, which is used for your statement and, your signature and seal, and I'll show you that in a minute. And keep in mind that owners are required to log in and complete their statements and signatures. So this is that DPL-1 form. It's available from the Department of Buildings website from the Forms section. And again, this is for anyone who has a seal. So you would complete the contact details at the top, sign and date, and apply your seal. And then you can scan that in, and you can use this DPL-1 for any filings you submit for a year from the date you've signed it. So again, once you sign and date and seal this and upload it, you can use the same DPL-1 for up to a year. So let's go into DOB Now, and we're going to click on the Statements and Signatures tab. Now this will be unique to each filing. So we'll take a look at this. At the top of the form is the applicant of record statements and signatures. And again, based on the type of filing and what's included in the filing, all the right legal language will appear. And to apply their electronic signature, they would check the box, their name and the date appears. The owners need to go in and do the property owner statements, a series of yes/no questions. And then they also need to apply or select the owner type and then enter their email address if it has not already been entered. And that would pull over all their details from e-filing. And then they have their final statement here at the bottom that they check, and their electronic signature and date will be applied. All right, true or false? DOB Now summarizes all the statements needed for the filing and displays them for review and signature on the Statements and Signatures tab. I'm going to say this is sort of true. For the applicant of record and the owner, all those statements and signatures go to the Statements and Signatures tab. So it's all in one place and you can sign at once. There is a little bit of a nuance for our special and progress inspectors and our site safety team. Their statements and signatures actually appear on either those technical forms or on the work permit. So we'll see that in just a moment. True or false? The owner plays no role in the filing before it is submitted to the Department of Buildings. If you answered false, you were correct. The owner is required to log in. They need to review the filing and complete their owner statements and signatures each time a filing is submitted to the Department of Buildings. So for an initial, for a correction, for a post-approval amendment, the property owner will have to kind of go in and do their final review and sign off. All right. So we've gone in and we've submitted our statements and signatures, and now it's time to preview and file the job. So only the applicant of record can file the completed filing. So that's our design professionals, our professional engineers, our registered architects, and for curb cuts, also the registered landscape architect. And before they can file, they need to preview and do a final sign-off. So let's take a look at how that works. So the status will be applicant of record review. So that's your sign that the filing, all required fields and documents have been uploaded and you're ready to move on to the next step. So we'll select preview to file in the upper left. And then what's going to appear is a summary of the application. And the system will ask you to click through each page and review each page of the application by clicking that next button at the top. And you'll want to scroll down, if necessary, to see all of the information. And this particular filing is an 8-page filing, so we'll just click through all the pages by clicking next. Here's our statements and signatures. And then lastly, there's a final sign-off. I have personally reviewed all the information on this application. We'll check the box, and then the file button will activate, and we can click the file button. And then after that happens, you can see how it's moved to plan examiner review, or it would go to professional certification QA review if you were using the other type of review process. Once you submit, the owner and applicant will receive a confirmation email. And then once the filing is assigned to a plan examiner, if you've chosen that route, you'll be notified of that. Or if it's going to professional certification, you would also get notified of that. All right, question. Who is required to click the preview to file button, review and sign the filing before submitting the filing to the Department of Buildings? If you said the applicant of record, which needs to be a design professional, you are correct. All right, let's talk briefly about making corrections. So corrections can be made after you submit while it's in the status of pending plan examiner assignment or pending professional certification QA review. So there's that window of time when you hit submit and before your filing gets assigned for review, which is a very limited amount of time. But during that time, if you need to make a small change to the filing, you could initiate a correction. So let's take a look at that. Certain fields, which we've kind of reviewed already, will be grayed out and not editable. So our location and applicant information, the review type, the building type, and the property owner's information. So our scenario is that while reviewing a filing, the design professional realizes they checked the wrong box in Section 8 and they want to adjust that. So since the filing is still in the pending plan examiner assignment stage, a correction is permitted. So from our dashboard and the My Jobs tab, we'll locate our filing. And over in the far right, there is a filing actions column, and we'll click the down arrow and select correction. Now, if a correction was not allowed, that option would not appear there. But we can see here that this filing is in pending plan examiner assignment, so that is our clue or our signal that a correction is still allowed. It's going to ask you if you'd like to proceed with the correction. You'll say yes. And then it adds a flag to the filing, correction in progress. So that means when anyone goes into this filing, they'll receive this warning and know that someone else is editing it. So if, for example, the chief plan examiner went into the filing and was going to assign it to a plan examiner, it would say, whoa, 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 hold on a moment. The applicant is making some corrections. Please hold off. So likewise, if the owner came in or someone else came into this filing while you were making the corrections, they would see this notification. And so we said we made some corrections in Section 8, and we'd save. There's some statements and signatures required, and then that resubmit button would be activated. And let's just quickly do a knowledge check here. So true or false, corrections are still allowed once a filing has been assigned to a plan examiner or a QA analyst, as long as they haven't started their review yet. So this is a little bit of a trick question, so the answer is false. So once it's assigned, it's too late to do corrections. There's other things you can do, but that corrections functionality is disabled. You can only do the corrections while it's awaiting assignment. All right, so review objections and schedule appointments. So our scenario is we're a design professional and we receive an email notification that the DOB has raised objections with our filing and has requested an appointment. When that happens, you will receive an email. And when you go into the filing, we're going to do a job filing search because the job filing number was in the email, so we'll just search for it. And we'll double click to open it. And in our status bar under Plan Examiner Review, we'll have a red exclamation point, and that's our indicator that objections have been raised. And over in the right, under the application highlights, where we saw the summary and where we kicked off the payment, now there will be another box added there that lists objections. And so for our filing, we only have one objection. To see the details, we would click in the far right on that details button to open the objections. And this is where you would see the details raised by the plan examiner. So if our scenario is that an appointment has been requested, and so the design professional, filing rep, or owner can schedule the appointment, the design professional is a mandatory attendee at that meeting, but others can be added as optional, and you're only allowed to have one scheduled appointment at a time. So let's take a look at scheduling an appointment. So here we are on our dashboard. This time we're going to type the job number into that search bar. And then when we hit enter, it will come up. You can see objections are listed as a status, and we'll double click to open. And then over on the right, we can see our objections, and just below that, we can see now a box for DOB appointments. And that, again, that will only appear if there are objections and if the plan examiner has requested an appointment. So we'll click plus add appointment. And then you'll notice that the design professional is a required attendee, but we can add optional attendees from individuals associated with the filing. So we're going to add the owner. And then the plan examiner's name is there, and we'll pick the date. And then we'll go down below that and select the time. And then we'll click submit. We'll confirm the date and time. We'll select yes. And then your appointment has been booked successfully, and it will show it as scheduled over in that appointment section of the filing. Once you do that step, the DOB scheduling coordinator will go ahead and create the go-to-meeting session and send calendar appointments to the attendees. So I didn't mention this earlier, but the review meetings will happen virtually using GoToMeeting. So for that GoToMeeting, you'll need a PC or a mobile device so you can share screens and look at things together. For example, if you want to look at the plan set together. And we're recommending using phone for audio, although you can do audio through the computer. It doesn't always work perfectly. And for GoToMeeting, we recommend logging in early. We're recommending here that you use your phone versus the PC, and make sure you have your access code and audio pin handy. All right, so here's our scenario. The date for our appointment with the plan examiner is approaching, but we now have a conflict and we need to cancel and reschedule. So in that DOB appointments window in the far right, there's the trash can icon. You can click on that to cancel the appointment. It will ask you, are you sure you want to be canceled? Say yes, appointment cancellation successful, okay. And then the appointment will still show in your grid there. You can see it there as canceled. And now the add appointment button is activated again, and you can click that and follow the steps we just went through to schedule your new appointment. If there are any cancellations initiated by the Department of Buildings, rather than you having to go in and reschedule the appointment, the scheduling coordinator will reach out to you with upcoming availability and get you in as quickly as possible for your rescheduled appointment. Okay, now I'll check. Besides the Department of Buildings plan examiner, who is required to attend an appointment? The design professional. All right, so we've met with the plan examiner. We've determined how we're going to address those objections. So we're going back into our filing. We got there from our My Jobs dashboard, and then the application highlight section over on the right under objections. We're going to click that details button. And now we'll change the objection status from open to resolved, and we'll enter our comments and click save. If any adjusted documents, any changes were made to the documents and they need to be re-uploaded, you would upload the documents. And then we have to make our statements and signatures because we've adjusted the filing. And then we click save, and then the resubmit button will activate. All right, here's our scenario. This is just if you go the other review route. So the design professional filed a professional certification filing or selected professional certification review. You received notification that the filing failed QA review. So you would get an email notification. and you would go to your My Jobs dashboard, locate the job filing. You can see the status is QA failed. You double-click to open the filing, and then under Application Highlights, where the Objections box was on our other filing, our failure reason would appear. And in this situation, the plans submitted are unreadable. So we would go through and address the the reason for failure, upload any updated documents, and then we'd mark the status resolved. And then again, statements and signatures, we'll save the filing, do your statements and signatures, and then the design professional can click that resubmit button. All right, so let's say we've been through all of that, and now our filing is approved, and it's time to create a work permit. So there are a number of different times during the filing that you could submit the work permit. If you're choosing professional certification, you can submit the PW2 with the initial filing or once it's been approved. Or if you're doing standard plan, once the filing has a status of approved, you can request the work permit. So our scenario is we're the general contractor for a curb cut project, and the property owner has notified you that the DOB has approved the application and you can apply for the permit. So now I'm logging in as a contractor, and I'm going to, because this is not on my dashboard, I'm not associated with the filing yet, I'm going to select plus work permit. And then I'm going to search using the job number. So I'll enter the job number in the search box at 9 digits, and then I'll click Get Jobs. It will pull back a list, and there's the one that I need to create the permit for. So over in Filing Action, I'll click on the down arrow and select Create Work Permit. It will ask you to confirm that you want to create a work permit, and then bring up the work permit form. And we'll complete that form by following through, looking for all of our red asterisks. And then we'll enter our information as the contractor. So we'll enter our e-filing email address. Once that populates and pulls over our information, we'll select our license type and our business. Again, this is a situation where if you're entering the email and nothing's being pulled back, there's a couple of reasons that could be. One, the person is not registered for e-filing, or you did that cut and paste. To troubleshoot that, go ahead and type the email address in and tab out of that field, and that kind of signals the system to go out to e-filing and pull back those details. You're also able to designate a filing rep if another filing rep is associated with the permit, someone different than the original job filing. And then in certain situations for antenna filings, the site safety manager must be designated. And that's when, in Section 8, the building type is 1 to 3 family or other, and the building existing or proposed is greater than 15 feet or greater than or equal to 200 feet, and there's facade alteration work indicated. And this is kind of what those sections look like on the filing. So if all those criteria are met, then that site safety professional is required. So a section would appear on the work permit tab. You'd have to indicate who that site safety manager was and indicate the site safety manager's registered e-filing email address. Then the fees must be paid associated with the work permit, and in some cases required documents must be uploaded. And then statements and signatures from the applicant for the work permit. So they read the content, check the box, and click Save. And then once everything is complete, the File button will activate and the general contractor can file the work permit request. An email is generated, and then when the permit is under review, there's a notification that goes out, and when the permit is issued, a notification goes to the associated stakeholders. All right, so we're the general contractor, and we've received notification that the work permit has been approved. So we log into DOB Now Build and print the work permit. So this time we're going to go to My Work Permits tab. So now we can get to it from My Jobs, but on this example, we're going to go to My Work Permits, and we'll locate the filing, and then from the filing actions in the far right, we'll say Print Work Permit. You'll receive a confirmation. Do you want to proceed with printing? We'll say yes. And then the permit will appear in your browser window, and you can either use Control-P to activate print or use your little gear settings in the browser itself to initiate the printing, or you could save it as a PDF. Anyone associated with the filing can print the work permit. I know our scenario was that the contractor was printing it, but the owner, the design professional, could print that work permit as well. Okay, our next scenario is that the permit is scheduled to expire before the work will be completed, and the general contractor requests a permit renewal. So similarly, we would go to My Work Permit. Over in the filing actions, we'll select Renew Work Permit. That'll ask why, and then we will kind of complete all the red asterisk fields on this renewal form. We'll pay the fees. We'll electronically sign and save that renewal, and then we can click Resubmit. So who is required to submit the request for the work permit or work permit renewal? If you said the general contractor, you are correct. And who can print a work permit? Anyone associated with the filing can print the work permit. All right, continuing on, let's talk briefly about post-approval amendments. You're required to complete accurate and complete jobs within DOB Now. And so if there are any changes made to the project, so the scope of work or the plans, or there's an ECB violation that needs to be corrected, you'll want to file a post-approval amendment. And PAAs are allowed when the filing status is approved or permit entire. When you're submitting a PAA, please indicate in section 24 in the comments section what you're correcting or what you're changing. And the post-approval amendment can only be filed by the design professional, and it must be the same applicant of record as the original PW1. So you can't kind of switch over design professionals during the PAA process. When a PAA is filed, there are a number of fields that are not editable. So the status, the address, the applicant and owner information, and the building type. So here's our scenario. As work gets underway, the registered landscape architect determines that the curb cut needs to be extended. The RLA initiates the post-approval amendment, and because the estimated cost of the work increases, the RLA pays additional filing fees and submits the PAA. So we're going to go to My Jobs and locate the job filing. In the filing actions, we'll select PAA. It's going to ask us to confirm. And then we'll make the updates to the filing itself that are needed and click Save. In our situation here, that the job cost increased and generated some additional fees that are due in addition to the cost of the post-approval amendment filing. So we'll need to pay those. We'll need to upload the required documents, complete our statements and signatures. And the owner needs to complete their statements and signatures. And then complete the sign-off by the owner. And then again, the applicant of record will need to click that Preview to File button and go through each page of the application, scrolling to review all the information. And then they'll do that final sign-off, checking the box, which adds their name and date, and then that File button activates. They can click File. I'll get a notification that the job filing was saved successfully. And now in our list of jobs, we not only have our initial filing, but now we have our post-approval amendment filing. We'll also get an email once that's submitted. All right, true or false? The process to submit a PAA is similar to submitting the initial job filing. Yes, so that's true. I kind of ran through that really quickly, but it does require kind of going through the complete application, making the updates, making sure all of our required fields are completed, all the documents are uploaded, the fees are paid, the statements and signatures are completed. The design professional or the applicant of record needs to do that preview to file, sign the filing, and then click Submit. Subsequent filings, we talked earlier that those aren't very common with antenna or curb cut, but they are available within DOB Now. So as we release more work types, just want you to be familiar with subsequent filings. So our scenario is our initial filing is approved and the permit is issued. During the project, the scope of work expands beyond the current work type, and so the design professional files a subsequent filing. So from the My Jobs tab, I can go to the original job, and in the Filing Actions column, I can select Subsequent Filing. Now what this does is it links, right, those two jobs together. So it's almost like a parent and a child job or sibling jobs. So this is one of the great benefits of being online, is that now these two jobs have the same job number, they just have a different filing number. It will ask us if we would like to proceed, and then we would go through and we would complete all of the required information, upload the documents, pay the fees, do the statements and signatures, preview to file, and file. And once you submit that subsequent filing, you'll get a notification, and then it will go through the review process just like an initial filing would. All right, let's briefly talk about letters of completion. Please note that if there are special or progress inspector certifications required for your filing, those must be completed before requesting the LOC. And then if your filing is subject to DOB Now inspections, those all must be signed off on all the work permits associated with the filing before that letter of completion can be requested. And the design professional or the owner can request the LOC. So we talked about this a little bit already, but before the LOC can be processed, this certification of completion on the relevant technical tabs must be completed by the special or progress inspector when those criteria are met. So if I am a progress inspector and it's time for me to go in and sign off, I would go find the job filing, go to that technical document or technical tab, go into the particular requirement that I took responsibility for, click the edit button. It's going to ask if I've completed the work, and I'll check the box, and then I'll read the legal statement, check the box, and add my statement, my signature and date. The system adds your signature and date, and then you would click Save. And if necessary, this is where you might find another required document. So this special inspection requires a document and the seal and signature for this special inspector. And so this one looks like it's already been submitted, but it would say required, and they would click that upload button to upload the DPL1 form. All right, so our project is complete, and we have received sign-off from DOB Now Inspections. So now we're requesting our letter of completion. So from our dashboard, we're going to select the plus LOC button at the top of the dashboard. We'll enter the job number and click Get Jobs. And then the job will appear in a list here, and you can see we're in Permit Entire. Over in the right, we'll select the filing action of Request LOC. The LOC will come up, and so we'll just complete the required information following our red asterisks. So the requester information, comments, statements and signatures, and then save and submit. All right, who can request a letter of completion? The design professional or the owner. All right, we're getting ready to wrap up. I think we have one more section here. So we're going to talk about our after-hours variances request. As you probably know, after-hours variances approval are required when you're doing activity before 7 or after 6 p.m. or on the weekends. Those filings need to be, those after-hour variance permits need to be approved by the DOB, and they may only be requested by the general contractor that was listed on the permit. So we're a general contractor. Our antenna installation work will need to be performed after hours for 4 days. So we file an AHV permit request. We're going to initiate this from the dashboard by hitting the plus AHV. You could also do it associated to the filing by using the drop-down menu in the filing actions column. But we did the plus, so we're going to enter our work permit number, which is a sample shown here. And then we'll fill out the after hours variance form following those red asterisks. It's going to ask the reason for our variance, and then it's going to ask a number of questions about the location of the work being done, so you can answer the yes, no to those. And then it will ask the dates and times. So we'll select our dates, and we'll enter the times. Keep in mind, you need to enter the times as the hours and minutes, as it's kind of a 4-digit number. So 07:00, but it's not military time. So you notice I have an 0700, that's a PM. So you'll enter the time and the AM or PM, and then we'll enter the description of the work. And then we'll save, and then we need to pay our filing fee. Once we do that, we can complete the statements and signatures and save and submit the AHV request. You'll get a notification that it was successfully applied for, and the email notification will go out to all the stakeholders. And once you receive approval, you also get an email, but you, in your My AHV Work Permits tab, now that work permit will appear there, and you'll see the status as approved. At that point, you need to pay the filing fee, or sorry, the daily fee, the daily AHV fee. And then once that's paid, then the permit is issued and you're able to print or renew that AHV permit. All right, so that covers all of our topics related to antenna and curb cut filings. Let's briefly talk about the DOB Now public portal. So when we logged into DOB Now, we landed on a login page, and we used kind of that right section to enter our email address and password. But the left 2/3 of the screen are the public portal. And this is accessible to anyone. No user ID or password is required. And you're able to search by address, building identification number, borough block lot, or device, and pull up a property and see all of the DOB Now filings associated with that property or device. So we're going to search by address. We'll enter the address and click search, and then the building characteristics come up, so some basic general information about the building itself. And then at the bottom of that screen, you'll see two bars, a blue bar that says Build Job Filings and an orange bar that says Safety Compliance Filings. And this is, again, just a summary of what you'll see on that main form. So we expanded the Build Job Filings, and a list of job filings, again, only DOB Now job filings, appears, and then we can just click the Edit or the View button to open the job filing. And when we do that, all of our chevrons from our filing in DOB Now appear kind of, instead of horizontally, they appear vertically, and we can just click into each one to see detail. So I can click on the appliance work, PWW1, to see details there. If I wanted to see work permits, I could click there. If I wanted to see documents, I could click on documents and see information about the documents. This is just a sample of looking at work permits. And so we recommend that you keep in mind the public portal. I think it's a very useful resource to see all DOB filings, especially as we're in this interim period where we're using both BIS and DOB Now. A quick and easy way to see what's going on at a property from a DOB Now standpoint is to use that public portal. Keep in mind that BIS and BISWeb are still around, and any non-DOB Now filings will still remain in BIS, but DOB Now filings will not go back into BIS. So we're kind of going to have to use both of these systems over the next little while we're doing this migration to DOB Now. All right, so true or false? A user ID and login are required to access the DOB Now public portal. The correct answer is false, and anyone can access the DOB Now public portal at www.nyc.gov/DOB Now. All right, so what have we accomplished today? We talked about DOB Now. We showed you where to go for help, but we're going to do that again momentarily. We discussed the importance of e-filing. We logged into DOB Now Build. We created a job filing. Our job filing had some objections, so we scheduled an appointment. We resolved the objections and resubmitted the filing. We filed our work permit and got that approved and printed it. We submitted a post-approval amendment, an AHV, and a letter of completion, and we made a subsequent filing. So, again, the Department of Buildings website is your go-to resource for DOB Now information. You can get there directly using the URL www.nyc.gov/DOB Now info. And then please subscribe to Buildings News so you can receive all the latest updates. We're going to be releasing more and more work types over the coming months, and so you'll want to stay tuned for all the latest and learn about upcoming sessions like this or in-person sessions that you can attend. If you need more individual support, our customer service team is available and ready to help you. You can reach them at www.nyc.gov/DOB Now Help. We'll ask that you create a ticket, and then the team will work with you to help you through whatever help you need. And that is all we have for today. I want to thank you for attending our session, and have a great day.